Hi, I'm Dr. Gilgamesh, and I'd like to introduce you to my podcast, Emotional Anatomy. It's an intelligently designed anatomy that has as its goal the recruiting your interest and curiosity as to how it works so that you can become more familiar with it and, as a result, better at it and enjoy it more. Welcome. Hi. I'm Dr. Gilgamesh, and it's my privilege to present to you again another stage in the awareness of emotional anatomy, another development in our vocabulary that will help us look into our own reflection, look into our mind's eye, and see ourselves more clearly. I'm hopeful that as time goes along, we'll expand this vocabulary so that we can explore even more broadly. But right now we're starting from the beginning. There's an architecture to emotional anatomy. This architecture can be understood, can be witnessed, can be recognized by you and me. Now we're going to start by trying to reach out to physicians to assist them in seeing themselves, likewise to teachers, educators, and interested individuals, so that this can be more and more easily recognized by these descriptions. That I'm not yet including the deeply wounded, or I'm going to kind of introduce the deeply wounded now, but I consider that we are all so very fortunate not to be the deeply wounded. We're going to have to advance our language to assist them in seeing this as well. But the deeply wounded can be so hurt, so confused, so consumed that we can't find a way to talk to them or reach them. They don't even recognize what I'm saying. I would say that the majority of us do, though. I like to go back to the original description, freedom versus slavery, because it's current politically, it's current socially, economically. The notion is that we fight for our freedom. And here we have this experience of freedom to choose wisely. Now we're looking inwardly into the ocean of emotion, and we're discovering that this freedom to choose wisely is not easy because of emotional reflexes. So we go back to the early life experiences, and we would see, say, the person who might feel exhausted daily or overwhelmed or ready to give up, or the feeling, that edge of burnout, that funny feeling of I need more, I want more, this isn't quite enough, or some other concept that would help us see that there is a struggle. And so today I'm introducing you to the tug of war, the wrestling match, the guerrilla mind warfare. Many of you may have seen my website already. If not, check it out, gilgamesh.com.org. You can approach it through many different ways. The Wonder Man. It's the concept here is that there is a website that has attempted to write this to you, that has attempted to present these concepts to you through a different method, a written method, because on that website, you're also going to find the blog, The Magnificent Woman. These are approaches that I've taken trying to help people recognize their emotional anatomy and the impact that it has upon their lives. So now, take, for example, exhausted, can't get out of bed. You know, the idea of being able to see our minds dissociate. If we get injured, there's a reflex that responds automatically. And the little kids get this, right? The little kid responds automatically. We are designed this way. The emotional anatomy is designed to respond to any of the tragic insights or awareness or experiences that we have as children, and we develop reflexes. But the challenge for us now as adults is to recognize that these reflexes have become etched into the emotional anatomy. This emotional anatomy is a very sensitive tissue, and if you wound it properly, the emotional reflex that responds is not going to go away, all the way out to the point of calling it a traumatic stress disorder, or just recognizing, I don't want to get out of bed. I feel exhausted. Okay, so from a very young age, this happens, and I'm going to introduce you now to a progression into the observing position. As though the emotional anatomy is now growing through stages, we start with investing in your confidence. That's the first stage that we realize, wait a second, I don't feel confident. What do you mean you're investing in my confidence? Or I feel plenty confident. What do you mean I'm investing in your confidence? The confidence that can recognize that there is a tug of war, that this isn't an automatic. This isn't something that happens just because. It happens as a result of our interacting with each other. We become collaborators for the better understanding of how this mind of ours is working. So to realize that there is a growth, meaning that we have to help each other grow through these stages. And as the mood changes, the movie changes. And so this intense work becomes one of collaboration, people speaking a language to one another that helps each other recognize that emotional anatomy is etched into us. It's not going to change. Much like physical anatomy, the emotional anatomy is not going to change. And boringly repetitious, indeed. Yes, the habits and patterns of our personalities are not necessarily going to change until we see the principles that govern how the mind works. These principles can be described, and that's what I'm introducing us to. That's what I'm inviting you into, is a participation in the description of our emotional anatomy so that others might join in as well. It's a worldwide network marketing. Well, not exactly. It's your gift of learning a language that you can share with others so that they might have the privilege of understanding how their mind works too. What happens when your best friend is stuck in bed, exhausted, and from a very young age? Well, we have the chance of being able to then communicate with each other a vision, a more powerful vision, a bigger movie. And to see the guerrilla mind warfare trying to tear that movie down. A hope, a dream, an invitation, a desire, and then the whispers, the thoughts, the images. You know, for some unfortunate people, the mental illnesses. But the majority of us, I think, are healthy enough to recognize that it's a battle, it's a wrestling match. And that there are thoughts trying to tear us down and thoughts that would try to lift us up. And that this tearing down and lifting up actually makes us smarter, stronger, better, and wiser. Our language improves. Our ability to describe how this works improves. So the tug of war then takes on a potentially very subtle form. It takes on such subtle forms that we don't even recognize it. We just accept it. That's me. You've got to get used to it. Instead of recognizing that I can choose an alternative pathway in the very emotional anatomy that I'm describing. And that tug of war, I'm trying to get more specific to describe, is an effort to prevent you from seeing through the lens of awe and wonder. Prevent you from seeing this bigger picture more clearly. Prevent you from participating in this description of emotional anatomy so that you could indeed participate in language, experience, and wonder, that it was designed like this on purpose to impress you so that you would want to do it again. Now, as you catch on, I'm going to be adding again the concept of gratitude, because as you catch on, consider it a gift. Consider your mind, designed this way on purpose to impress you, as a gift. So the thank you actually makes logical sense. It actually fits into the organism. Oh, cool. I see that. I feel that. And as the mood changes, the nightmare, the exhaustion, the cloud, the depressions, the sadness, the loneliness, all of this stuff changes the movie. The movie looks different through a different mood. And so as the mood changes, the way you look at this world changes. As I invite you into this lens of awe and wonder, the wow lens, the ability to see through that lens, the mood changes. It's a different mood. It's our heart's home. And so we've spent a little time trying to identify that heart's home, but now we're also identifying how the wounded emotional anatomy generates reflexes that would prevent you from even acknowledging that it exists. So we'll again repetitiously try as best that we can to invite you into your heart's home so that you would have a chance to see this tug of war more clearly and precisely identify what it is that's obstructing you. It is in that precise identification of obstruction that I'm claiming that physicians can benefit from this language, because listening carefully to their patients, the people they're trying to help, their family, their friends, by listening patiently, you can hear the language, you can hear the self-criticism, you can hear the people talking to themselves in ways that prevent them from understanding. I've got to get my dog cut. I'll be back. Come on. The editing problems, yes? Well, I think I'll stop and eat a cherry. Oh boy, this one's harder on you, I know, and I'm sorry, but still, I'm going to pick up. Where we left off. Okay, so I'm recruiting you. I'm asking that you would take a look at this, you see, because after investing in your confidence, then we develop the observing position, the confidence enough to turn looking inwardly and observe as though standing outside yourself and observing, or consider this possibility, that the observer could be likened unto a bow fisherman standing at the edge of the stream, and the fishes going back and forth, and the bow fisherman attempting to pluck from the stream the desirable fishes. All right, it's going to be that the observing position is far more rewarding, you see, than being stuck in a bad movie. So if I don't like the movie I'm watching, I change the channel. The mind is more like a television set than it is a thought generator. And by your own free choice, you're going to be learning how to change the channel by observing the mood and by recognizing the patterns and frequencies of moods that are occurring. And by so doing, thank you is a different mood. You see, the gratitude is actually a different mood, and it interrupts these patterns momentarily. It puts punctuation in the middle of your observation. Oh, look, I like that fish. Thank you. And I pluck it from the stream. Now, I might want to throw it back in. I might be the wrong fish entirely, etc. I get another shot. I'm free to choose again. And it's that makes freedom exciting and enjoyable, by the way. You see, in the tug of war, freedom versus slavery, the reason this works is that freedom is more exciting and more enjoyable. And that's what we in the United States are attempting to share with the world. That's what we physicians are going to be attempting to share with our patients. That's what a person consumed by emotional reflexes, must do to understand that there is a better alternative. Freedom to choose something better is exactly why freedom to choose summarizes the entire psychological science. We are products of emotional reflexes, and our emotional reflexes inflict upon others their emotional reflexes. We call that the crazy eight, right? That between two people, this rapid reciprocity of interaction takes off and makes a crazy eight interaction between us, as compared to the freedom to interrupt that crazy eight. Thank you. I go an alternative pathway, down the gratitude pathway, into the lens of awe and wonder, and then I begin to see more clearly the patterns of emotional anatomy that have prevented me from ever intervening in such a way before. But this simplicity is what's so important. If it weren't this simple, then gratitude would not be a logical response. But in that it is this simple, thank you initiates an alternative pathway, which is what we're looking for as we attempt to help those that have traumatic stress disorder, their dissociated response to traumatic stress, which then, if they can see more clearly through this observer position that comes through developing confidence enough to stand back and see the patterns of emotional anatomy repeating themselves, then they are able to choose more wisely a response of gratitude, which then steps into the lens of awe and wonder again and understands how subtly and how reality is that it interferes with our ability to see clearly and choose wisely. There goes another fish. And I end up shooting at the wrong fish, perhaps, choosing the wrong thought, ending up stuck in the wrong movie. So I remind us that this observing position is much more rewarding, much more exciting, much more encouraging and nurturing of ourselves than being stuck in a bad movie. The options become a free choice. That's why we're studying emotional anatomy. That's how come I'm offering short clips, short takes on emotional anatomy, trying to build the layer cake of understanding, because it's where that layer cake sags. It's where there are glitches in the system that we must identify and become familiar enough to be able to say, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Thank you. Now, that introduces, you see, the tug of war. And I've had some people not be so excited about the concept that it is war, but freedom versus slavery is a war indeed. But all right, call it a battle, call it a wrestling match. But I see it as guerrilla mind warfare, as you see on the website. Smackdown guerrilla wrestling on cosmic television. And we see ourselves stuck oftentimes in a bad movie. Thank you. Able to recognize that an alternative pathway gets us out of that movie long enough so that we can then begin making free choices to modify that movie strategically, to think it through, conceptualize, understand, and enjoy. Please join us. Thank you. You know, I'm really excited about presenting these materials. This is a description of how the mind works. It is going to revolutionize the way we think about psychological science, freedom versus slavery. Gratitude guides your heart home, where you discover the lens of awe and wonder, and through it realize wisdom. Freedom to choose wisely for the future of the world. So, if you're enjoying these podcasts, I do them for free, and you've been watching them, I hope, several times. But please donate and support the show if you're so moved. You can do so at patreon.com/emotional anatomy. And you can join us on our Facebook group also, and get a little more intimate in the discussion of this vocabulary. Thank you.